How do submarines control their depth? In the beginning, when God separated the waters above from the waters below, the oceans became the great deep. And humanity, never content to stay only on the dry land, decided to enter that deep in vessels of steel. Submarines are those curious creatures of our invention, moving silently in a world where light barely penetrates. But how do these machines, heavier than any whale and more fragile than a clay jar, manage to float, sink, and hover between the surface and the bottom of the sea? To answer this, we must return to one of the oldest truths of physics, a truth even Noah might have appreciated while building his ark. Whatever displaces water, floats. A submarine is like a stone wrapped in hollow spaces. By changing how much water it pushes aside, it decides whether to rise toward the heavens or descend into the depths. The secret lies in something called ballast tanks. Think of them as the lungs of the submarine. When filled with air, the vessel becomes lighter, more buoyant, and it rises just as a man exhales and feels his chest lift. When those tanks are filled with water, the submarine grows heavier, sinks lower, and becomes like Jonah, swallowed by the sea until it chooses to rise again. But buoyancy alone is too crude for a machine designed to slip quietly through the abyss. Submarines are not content with simply sinking and rising. They must hold themselves at a chosen depth, steady as an anchor. To achieve this, engineers created trim tanks, small reservoirs placed carefully inside the hull. These can be filled with precise amounts of water, like a scribe adjusting ink on his scroll, balancing the vessel so it does not tilt forward or back. By this subtle control, the submarine maintains its posture, like a man standing upright in prayer, unmoved by currents. Still, the sea is not silent, nor is it still. Water presses on the submarine with a force that grows greater with every cubit of depth. At 300 meters, the pressure is already enough to crush a car into dust. To move through this invisible weight, submarines rely on their planes, wing-like fins attached to the bow and stern. When angled, these planes deflect the flow of water, guiding the submarine up or down just as the rudder of Noah's Ark guided it across the flood. With the push of propellers and the tilt of planes, the vessel glides through the ocean as if suspended between heaven and earth. Yet, even with tanks and planes, the captain and crew must always be mindful of the balance between buoyancy, gravity, and motion. Imagine a tightrope walker carrying a pole. A small shift to the left or right can mean falling. In the same way, a miscalculation in ballast, a sudden flood of water, or a failure of pumps can plunge a submarine deeper than it was built to endure. The ocean, like the Leviathan described in Job, is mighty and unforgiving. It will crush steel as easily as clay, and for this reason, submariners treat their craft with reverence, as if it were a sanctuary. There is also the matter of stealth. To remain hidden beneath the waves, a submarine must control its depth silently. Pumping water in and out of tanks can make noise. The designers, wise as serpents, use compressed air and careful valves to minimize sound. At times, the vessel drifts without movement, holding its place by nothing more than balance. A modern miracle, much like Elijah hearing the still small voice of God, almost imperceptible yet utterly real. Consider also how a submarine must rise again to the surface. When Jonah prayed from the belly of the fish, the Lord commanded the creature to spit him out. Submarines do not wait for such miracles. They rely on high-pressure air stored in bottles. When released, this air rushes into the ballast tanks, pushing water out with the force of a tempest. The vessel grows lighter, surges upward, and breaks through the waves in a burst of white foam, like a leviathan exhaling. And here is the paradox. The same machine that can sink into the blackness of the abyss can also ascend to sunlight at will. It is a reminder of what the psalmist wrote. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there thy hand shall lead me. The submarine is both vulnerable and powerful, utterly dependent on design, discipline, and wisdom. Its crew entrusts their lives to principles written into creation itself: displacement, pressure, balance, and the eternal struggle between sinking and rising. So next time you see the ocean, remember that beneath those waves may be a vessel holding men who move as if they command the deep. But in truth, they do not rule it. They borrow its laws for a time, mastering the art of buoyancy and balance. They rise and sink, hover and glide, like creatures fashioned for another world. And though steel protects them, it is the wisdom of order, the same order by which God separated the waters, that allows them to live where no man was meant to walk.